Um,
So it's Andy's fault.
so what ends up
Uh,
happening when that happens is there in the 878 and the 578 software, there's actually a quick way to fix that. Um, and what that is, and let me get the software pulled up here so we can show you that here. It's not in the 168 software, unfortunately. I will be letting AnyTone know about that. Um, but in the 878 software, there is an option to go in and hide all your zones at once or unhide all your zones. And hiding your zones can come in handy if you have a code plug that you don't use all of the zones in, but you don't want to delete them. Um, so let me share my screen here.
Hey, Jer. Just a
Yes.
quick mention that Dr. Greg asked if you started the stream on YouTube. I've got it pulled up, but it's not coming across. It says that there's 8 watching now, but it's not coming up for me. If you want to check and make sure that the doobly doo's doing the doobling, might be a good
Yep.
idea just to make
Give me
sure.
1 second here.
Yes, Dan, I know it was funny. The doobly doo doing the doobly.
Yeah, it's playing little advertisement and it's showing on mine.
Okay, interesting.
So I would try
Um,
refreshing the page.
yeah, Doctor. Okay, cool.
Because it
Uh,
should say BC Plus Live 11/7/24. My
okay.
zone button isn't working. How do I fix it?
All right, perfect. Well, it could just be, yeah. All right. Well, I guess Dr. Greg had an issue, and I did as well. So,
Yep.
it's just a thing. So I just wanted to make sure. Better safe than sorry.
Yes. All right.
All
So,
right, cool.
um, this is the 878 UV2 Plus software. And up here in under Tool, you'll see there's an option that says Zone Hide Operation. And what that does is it actually pops up a window here. And in that window, you'll see all checked or all unchecked. Now, here's why that's important. Um, on mine, I have all unchecked. But if you go to a zone and just go to open the zone, you'll see there's a zone hide right here. And when you check it, there's a checkbox. So what you do with that is you go to Tool, Zone Hide Operation, all checked, click OK, and then go back, Tool, Zone Hide Operation, all unchecked, and click OK. And that'll uncheck all of your zones. Now, like I said, when you want to use zone hide is when you have zones you don't want to delete, but you want to narrow down your list of zones. Let's say you're doing a specific event like um, Hamvention or Hamcation, and you're planning on programming in some zones specifically for that event. What you'll want to do is make sure that you actually have um, your zones that you're not using hidden. And the zone is, think of it like a folder that all of your talk groups and channels are in. So here's all the available that are on the code plug that I opened. Um, and here is all of the zone channel members. And these are the ones that you'll see in the zone when you're in that zone on your radio. And then you just write this back to the radio and your zone button will start working again. Um, so there is that. Some other things to keep in mind, and I've gotten a few emails about this, about the alarm going off on the 878 randomly, even with man down disabled. Something you can try is clicking on alarm setting right here and make sure that receive alarm is unchecked under digital alarm. Make sure that is unchecked and click OK, and then write that to your radio again.
That way that the thing doesn't do it, it's very annoying.
Yes, especially if you are like me and you forget to turn off the radio because the screen goes
Yep.
blank and then it jerks you awake in the middle of the night
It goes off, yes.
and you're thinking it's the fire alarm. Yeah, that's not good.
Not great.
The other thing is if you're trying to turn on your second VFO, which is under the power on option, or excuse me, work mode under optional settings, and you have subchannel turned on where it says subchannel mode right here, and this is turned on, but it's still not showing up. Here's what you need to check. Go to the tab that says GPS ranging, click there, and make sure that GPS roaming is turned off. Because GPS is turned off, it disables that automatically. But if your GPS is turned on and then GPS roaming is turned on, it disables your subchannel. So it won't work.
Also, if you're not doing APRS, keep it, and you're not wanting to beacon over digital, keep it off. It'll save on battery, like a lot.
Yes. Especially if you're in a fixed location. Something that you can do is, set it to have your APRS beacon, if you're wanting to beacon, um, every 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, you don't
If you're
need
wanting
it
it to
very
beacon out,
often.
because you don't need it to do that very often at all.
Yeah. So it'll definitely save your battery and be quite surprised how much longer it lasts.
Yes. The other thing, um, when you are taking and setting up your channels, if you have your APRS set up, and you're wanting to have it beacon on digital, what you need to do, and I'm just going to pick a channel here, is make sure that your report type is set to digital and make sure that your report channel is set to 1 and decide if you want it to beacon every time you do the push to talk or not. Otherwise it'll follow the settings in the APRS settings. So Ed actually asked a good question in YouTube. On the 878, does the firmware and the CPS version have to be the same? Preferably, yes. With 3.03 and 3.04, if the firmware is not the same, it won't work. You will get errors.
Yeah, you'll be very unhappy.
Yes. So for those of you who are setting up your radio for the first time, let me just pull this over here on the other screen here. GPS roaming is basically for roaming between channels or repeaters, but it is very specific on how it's set up. I have never personally set it up, so I am not the person to ask on setting that up. If you're a BC Plus member, there is a video from, I believe, July of last year, under the BC Plus Live, with Dwayne N60MR that shows how to set up GPS roaming for bouncing between repeaters, essentially. So let's see here. Let me see if I can get this screen over out of the way here just a little bit. All right. And for our friends that are on YouTube, Michael M7EWY, I'm wanting to say that is the UK possibly for that call sign. And Greg's on YouTube as well. I know he's from Oklahoma. So Jeremy would say hello to our Okies. And then we've got KE9BPD and Daniel KQ4WBW, as well as N6AOA. So thank you guys for being here. Now, as far as APRS setup goes, I know this has been covered on different videos. I'm just going to cover it again real quick. For digital, you want current channel, the same channel slot. Your talk group is going to be 310999 for Brandmeister Network in North America, for USA specifically. And you want it to be set for group call. That's what Jeremy said. On my 578, it's set for private call, and it works perfectly fine to report on APRS.to and APRS.fi. So you can play around with using group call or private call. For your analog settings, make sure that your delay is set for 600 milliseconds for repeater activation on digital. For analog, for North America, the frequency we most commonly use is 144.39000. And I always turn pass all on because I want to get all of the packet information that's available, even if it's a broken packet and it's only part of the information. And I want the position. I turn all of this on. Now, APRS transmit interval. 600 seconds is essentially 10 minutes, because I believe 300 seconds is 5 minutes. So I always have this set if I'm beaconing from home on the 578. I usually, until I know it's beaconing, have it set for 2 minutes. If you're at home on your 878 and you just wanted to beacon every 10 minutes, set it to 600 seconds. And then make sure support for roaming is off. And if you aren't able to get a beacon in a GPS lock in your house, this is where fixed location beacon comes in.
Yep.
You'll want to turn this on and then put in your GPS coordinates right here. Your latitude will be the number that doesn't have the minus sign, and that'll be north. And then the one with the minus sign, you'll put in the numbers themselves without the minus sign, and then choose W for west, because we're in the Western Hemisphere. That will beacon based on your GPS coordinates and your manually entered GPS coordinates instead of trying to get a GPS lock. All right. So for the 878, it's APAT81. That's Alpha Papa Alpha Tango 81. For the 578, it's Alpha Papa Alpha Tango 51. Your call sign, obviously you put your call sign in here. Something you'll notice if you try and do it lowercase, I'm not sure if you guys can hear that, it doesn't put anything in. So you actually have to use the caps lock or the shift key and type in your call sign. And Andy is better explaining the SSID parts than I am, because he's messed with APRS a lot longer than me. Because he's had APRS capable radios a lot longer than me. So, Andy, do you want to explain the table symbol and the numbers here?
I can. you would ask, and I don't have my symbol map up here, just simply because I just had to reinstall Chrome because, well, apparently it was borked and decided it didn't want to continue to work. So it was, yeah.
I told you about looking up the recipes for the Swedish meatballs. That Swedish chef will get you every time.
I know, but it was, I mean, they were good. Nonetheless, there's several places that you can, Google is your friend in this instance. If you have any questions regarding APRS symbols, icons, SSID, so on and so forth, if you just Google that, that's going to give you the most amount of information. It's going to be the easiest way for you to get the information that you need. But there's the different SSIDs determine what you are, what you're doing, so on and so forth. And then you also have your map icon, but the symbol table is to indicate, it gives a symbol of, like, you can do a home or your house, or you can do a home with an antenna on it. There's an entire legend of IDs and symbols that you can use to input that information. And there is another site, SR1. Of course, it just disappeared right as I was trying to pull it up here. It is Sierra Romeo 1 Bravo Sierra Zulu .alpha Mike Papa Romeo.org. And that will give you SSID recommendations. So, like, for example, Jeremiah, he's got -6, which is special activity, satellite ops, camping, or 6 meters, etc. -0 is your primary station, usually fixed and messaged capable. 1 is generic additional station, which could be digi, mobile, weather, etc. For example, if he's going to use this out and about in the real world, he would want a -7, which is walkie-talkies, HTs, and other human portable. So there's an example of your SSID. If you want to do a whole different icon, I can't go over all of the icons, but just look up the APRS symbol table. And that'll give you an idea of what you need to input there, so you pop up on other people's information screens, like on APRS.fi, with the symbol that you want. So there you go.
Now, one thing to remember, if you're using digital, it will actually transmit what you have set up on Brandmeister. When it transmits to Brandmeister, it'll actually show what the symbol is set up on Brandmeister on APRS.fi or APRS.to. If you use analog, then this stuff will pop up. So let me do this real quick and see if I can get signed into Brandmeister so I can show you where that is. Maybe it'll let me sign in. Hey, I remembered my password. I don't have to reset it again for like the 30th time.
You do actually have to do that a lot.
Yeah, I've got so many passwords. It's not even funny, and the password keeper software doesn't remember half of them. Okay. So what you'll do is, once you're signed in, you'll see your call sign, and if you set it up, your picture up here, click on your call sign, then click self-care, and then for my hotspot, you'll notice my APRS icon is right here, and this is the table that it gives you on Brandmeister for digital APRS. Since I'm a house, well, I'm in a house, I've got this icon selected. If I was in an RV, I could pick RV.
Or you could pick a school bus if you decided to convert a school bus into an RV. You know, it's kind of it's a player's game.
Yeah. If you ever see my icon with the running guy, which I just saw him, where did he go? Right here. That means one of 3 things has happened. one, something has gone horribly wrong behind me, and you should probably keep track of where I'm running to. Two, the I'm it for some reason helping out with a marathon and helping, coordinate things. Or three, I somehow borked the radio in the car and I've got my 878 in the car with me instead of my 578.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever see that icon, then it shows that I'm traveling at 80 miles an hour, I'm in the car.
Yes.
So here's the APRS transmit interval. For digital, it shows up as 120 seconds. And that's when it beacons out to the APRS websites as well as the APRS system. Alan asked a good question. Do we need a report channel and report slot to go with the 310999 talk group?
Good
Yes.
question.
You'll use the current channel and current time slot that you are on. If you're on a hotspot, the important thing to remember is if you're trying to do APRS, make sure that if you're on a repeater, the repeater owner allows it.
Yes.
Some repeater owners don't like that and they actually block that particular talk group. So if you're on a hotspot, it's up to you. But if you're on a repeater, try and find out if the repeater owner allows it, so you stay in their good graces. All right. So let's see here. We've got about 3 minutes left for our YouTube audience here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
So the other thing is if you have a hotspot, whether it be a Skybridge, a Zoom spot, Jumbo spot, and you're getting an issue where your software, if you're running WPSD, is showing your Brandmeister server, the BM 3103, 3102, or 3104 is red under the server. That means that there's a login issue. And what you'll need to do is actually come over here under self-care on Brandmeister and put in a password here. For simplicity, I just recommend using a 4-digit PIN like the day you adopted a pet or your favorite child's birthday, and don't pretend like you don't have a favorite child. Um, just put in their birthday, something like that. Click save password, and then go back to your configuration page for your hotspot. And where it says Brandmeister Hotspot Security, you'll put in the same password that you've got here and tell it to apply changes. Give it about 30 to 45 seconds, and that should reset it. And then it should turn white again, and or whatever color you've got your background set, and you'll be logged in. So there are some various tips and tricks for everybody on our YouTube stream. For the BC Plus members, please make sure you stick around, as we are going to be covering the update to the 168 and how to update the firmware on it. Daniel, on YouTube, just to answer your question that I just saw, Brandmeister local repeaters are going to be one or the other unless they're specifically configured to do both. You'll need to check most repeaters are Brandmeister repeaters. And will only use Brandmeister talk groups. I have seen a few, and I mean few, TGIF talk group repeaters that only do TGIF. So what you would need to do is get with the repeater owner or find the information for the repeater and figure out how to take and set up your code plug accordingly. So with that, for BridgeCom Systems, I'm Jeremiah, W9JM, with my co-host. Did we lose Andy's audio? Uh-oh. I think we lost Andy's audio. All right. Well, okay. Well, that being said, for YouTube, thank you for being here, and we will catch you next week. 73. Okay. Andy, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up.